Hello, World History. This is Miss Corey. Welcome to Unit 14, Lesson 2, Basics of World War I, Part 1. So welcome to the new unit as well. So Unit 14, we will talk about World War I as well as the Russian Revolution. All right, so your job today is going to be watch this ed puzzle, answer the questions. Questions I will ask you during the video today in blue text are going to be questions I want you to answer directly on the ed puzzle. And if you have any questions, please do let us know. We are happy to help you out. All right, learning targets. Examine conflicting narratives about the past and identify how these narratives can lead to global conflict. As you can probably tell, that the conflict today will be World War I. All right, so before we get started here, let's just take a look at the calendar of what Unit 14 is going to look like since we kind of have spring break in the middle of it. So, of course, we are starting off with Unit 14, Week 1. You were right here. You just did the causes of World War I reading and quiz. Next up, you will do the World War I Part 2 and then Part 3. And then to end the week, we have the Diary of the War Nurse reading and quiz. Please note that these assignments are going to be due on March 29th at midnight. Okay, so make sure you get them done before you go off for your spring break plans, because they will be due Sunday, March 29th at midnight. Okay, so don't be marked absent. Get them done. Get them done early in the week if you need to. That's totally fine with me. All right, then we have spring break. So happy almost spring break, everyone. I hope you do have an awesome spring break and a safe one as well. And then when we come back, we will start Unit 14, Week 2. So we'll start off with the World War I video choice, the World War I technology video choice, the Russian Revolution, and then the Russian Revolution primary source reading and quiz. Then we have the Unit 14 summative reverse quiz. I'm actually going to talk through the summative directions today after we're done talking about World War I. The reason why I'm doing that, because I think it might be more helpful for you to know what is expected in the summative now, so you can write down notes and stuff that will help you for the summative itself. All right, let's get started. So what do you know about World War I? You should know something since you did the U14-L1 assignment. All right, so there's quite a bit that you learned in the previous assignment, mostly about how World War I got started. We'll talk a little bit about that today as well. So first, let's talk about a map. So this is a map of Europe. So this is in the late 1800s. As you will see here, we have pretty much very similar countries to what we have today. So we have like Portugal, Spain, we have France, we have the United Kingdom of Great Britain, which I will just shorten to Great Britain, by the way. So if you see UK or Great Britain, they mean the same thing, okay? Belgium, Netherlands, Switzerland, Italy, of course. Italy doesn't change too much. We also have Austria-Hungary, German Empire, the Ottoman Empire, which we will talk about in a few slides from now. We'll also talk about the Balkans, which is down over in here by Greece. And then we also have the Russian Empire, which of course we will talk about Russia because we're talking about the Russian Revolution in a few lessons. All right, let's talk about these tensions in Europe. So due to imperialism, countries fought for colonies. Such tensions were to get the most or the best colonies as possible. So there is many battles between countries. To win a battle, countries had to have the best weapons and army, which led to an arms race. So an arms race is pretty much a lot of government funding goes into like technology making so they can make the best, the biggest like weapons they possibly can. So the arms race then leads to something called militarism. That is when a country has a large army ready for war at any time. Germany, Great Britain, Austria-Hungary, Italy, France, Ottoman Empire, and Russia all had militarism by the early 1900s, meaning they all had huge armies. Now, all they needed was a reason to fight. All right, so Prussia's chancellor, this guy right here, his name is Otto von Bismarck, unified all of Germany in 1871. Bismarck did not want to grow Germany's borders. He was satisfied with the size of Germany. Bismarck used his leadership to bring peace to Europe. He believed France was the least peaceful out of all of the European countries. France is right here next door to Germany, by the way. He thought that France wanted revenge on the Prussian-Germany War because they lost the Franco-Prussian War in 1870 to 1871, which I totally did not cover it all, but just know that France and Germany did not have the best of relationships at this time. To stop France from seeking revenge, Bismarck wanted to politically isolate France. So he wanted to become allies with the countries surrounding France, because if France had no allies, France couldn't go to war because they would get obliterated if they ever tried without any allies. So let's take a look at that map again, shall we? So we have the German Empire here, we have France right next door. So Germany's idea was to be allies with all the other countries around France. That way, France was kind of like isolated on the little island. Bismarck was able to become allies with Italy, which is right down here, and Austria-Hungary, which is located right here. Italy, Austria-Hungary, and Germany become known as the Triple Alliance. In 1888, Kaiser Wilhelm II becomes the leader of Germany. He is very different than Bismarck. He is very power hungry, and he actually forces Bismarck to resign from all politics. Unlike Bismarck, he wanted to expand Germany and not maintain peace. He wanted to show off Germany's army. So Russia, which is also next to Germany at this time, okay, Russia's right here in the green, they saw Germany's military strength. So they responded with making an alliance with France. Because remember, France and Germany hate each other, so Russia's like, hey, you know what? I should become friends with France. That way, we kind of sandwich Germany in between the two countries. So looking at this map, why would Germany not want to fight a war against France and Russia at the same time? Germany would have to fight two fronts of the war, both the east over here with Russia and the west over here with France. Kaiser Wilhelm II focused on building a very strong navy. During this time, Great Britain had the best navy, and Kaiser Wilhelm saw that, and he's like, you know what? I want a strong navy too. So Great Britain, by the way, I shortened Great Britain just to GB. You'll see that throughout the World War II slides as well. So GB means Great Britain, just FYI, was like, oh snap, Germany is up to something. So Great Britain decides to become allies with France and Russia to help protect against a potential German invasion. So Great Britain, Russia, and France became known as the Triple Entente. Entente means understanding in French. So there are two factions of Europe before the start of World War I. Over here, we have the Triple Alliance, which is Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. Then we have the Triple Entente, which is France, Russia, and Great Britain. All right, next, let's talk about the Balkans. So this is a modern-day map, of course. The Balkans are located right here, kind of in southeastern-ish Europe. Includes countries such as Greece, like Serbia, Bulgaria, Croatia. Here's another more zoomed in map. Now this is a modern map, so some of these countries have kind of changed like their borders a little bit since the early 1900s, but you kind of get the main idea here. That we have like the Mediterranean Sea, we have the Black Sea, we have Greece, Serbia, Bulgaria, Macedonia, Romania, we have Ukraine, Austria-Hungary, Italy's over here. We also have the gateway into Anatolia in the Middle East through Turkey. All right, so like I mentioned before, the Ottoman Empire. We really didn't talk too much about the Ottoman Empire. We did a little bit back when we did like the Crusades unit, if you remember that. So the Ottoman Empire was this giant empire. It was an Islamic empire. It lasted from 1299 until 1919. Wow, that is a really long time. So during the early 1900s, the Ottoman Empire had part of the Balkan region. So here where you kind of see the pink magenta-y outline would be part of the Ottoman Empire. So the Balkans, they're the southeastern part of Europe. They're also the border of the Middle East. It is under the rule of the Ottoman Empire since 1299, which I said was an Islamic empire. It was a mix of different languages, religions, and other cultural aspects. The Balkans included nations such as Bulgaria, Greece, Montenegro, Romania, and Serbia. but it also borders with Russia, Austria-Hungary, and it has some important waterways such as the Black Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. So there were high tensions due to powerful surrounding armies, mixing of religions, routes to the Middle East, and important waterways. The Ottoman Empire, which ruled it, was dissolving by the early 1900s. They were very weak politically and militarily. So Russia, Austria-Hungary, and Serbia were trying to conquer the most Ottoman land as possible because they saw that the Ottoman Empire was just crumbling. So it was pretty much kind of like a grab of whatever land you can possibly get from the Ottomans. So here's a map of the Ottoman Empire at its very height. As you can see here, it is parts of North Africa, this parts of Europe, as well as a big chunk of the Middle East. So Serbia, which is this country right here, wanted to unite the majority of the Balkans together. Most of the people in the Balkans identified as Slavs. So they had a very common kind of culture, religion, language. Serbia's main goal was to make a unified Slavic country out of all these little countries. Austria-Hungary, which is right up here to the north, was really mad at Serbia because they wanted the Balkans for themselves. Russia, which is right next door over here, was mad at Austria-Hungary for interfering with Serbia wanting to make a unified country. The reason why Russia was friends with Serbia is because Russia is also considered a Slavic country. So they also have a very similar culture to all these little countries down here. And Russia supported a unified Slavic country. In 1908, Austria-Hungary takes over Bosnia, which is this land right here. Bosnia has mostly Slavic people. Serbia was like WTF, Austria-Hungary. Bosnian people are Slavs, not Austrians. We wanted their land. So Serbia took revenge. The heir to the Austria-Hungary throne was this dude right here named Archduke Franz Ferdinand. As you can probably tell, it does not end well for him. On June 28, 1914, Ferdinand and his wife Sophie, who's right there, went to visit Sarajevo. Sarajevo was the capital of Bosnia, Austria-Hungary's newly acquired land. 19-year-old Serbian Gavrilo Princip shot Ferdinand and Sophie point blank, killing them both instantly. Austria-Hungary was super mad at Serbia for killing Ferdinand. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia on July 28, 1914. So when one country goes to war, its allies also go to war. So think again in your mind. So who else did I say was Serbia's allies? And who was Austria-Hungary's allies again? So for Austria-Hungary, it had the allies of Germany and Italy. And for Serbia's allies, it had Russia, and Russia was allies with France as well as Great Britain. So now we have two sides of Europe. We have the Triple Alliance, which includes Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, and the Triple Entente, which, like we said before, was France, Russia, Great Britain, but now Serbia as well. So, to make this even more confusing, there's actually a name change of the two teams. So the Triple Alliance, which was Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, now become the Central Powers. Due to their central location in Europe, okay, that makes sense. And the Triple Entente, which was Russia, France, and Great Britain, and now Serbia, then make a name change to the Allies. So the name change is really confusing. So here's a quick quiz to make sure you're keeping up. The Central Powers include what countries again? Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. And what countries are the Allies? Great Britain, Russia, Serbia, and France. But wait, it gets even more confusing. So Italy is super mad at Germany and Austria for starting World War I without Italy's consent. So as revenge, Italy decides to leave the Central Powers, totally switch teams, and join the Allies in April of 1915. Japan also wants to get in on the action. So Japan wants to join the Allies. Japan really wants to spread its imperialism to China, which of course, as you can see, is pretty darn close to Japan. And Japan also wants to gain control of Germany's territory in China. The German territory in China is right here. Although it's just a little piece of land relative to all the other colonies, it is by the East China Sea and it's very close to Beijing, which is a very important city. So here are the sides of World War I in 1915. We have the Allies, which are Great Britain, Russia, France, Italy, Japan, Serbia. Serbia, although they kind of started the war, they're not really a major role in the war because they have such a small military that they're kind of not relevant at all, although they're the ones that started it. And then the Central Powers, we have Germany, Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria, and the Ottoman Empire, or at least what's left of the Ottoman Empire since it's kind of crumbling away. And just to put this all in perspective, the US hasn't even entered the war yet. All right, so World War I was not known as World War I during the time of World War I. It was only called that once World War II broke out in 1939. People would call it the Great War or the War to End All Wars. World War I lasts from July 28, 1914 until November 11, 1918. World War I would become known as a total war. A total war is when a country devotes all of its resources to the war effort, such as manufacturing goods from domestic products, such as cars, radios, and appliances, to making war supplies. World War I also had any able-bodied worker to work the factory or to show some way to support the war efforts. For example, with like women, they were encouraged to buy like war bonds or war stamps, and then there would be drafts for male soldiers to go to war. All right, so let's wrap this up. Today, we talked about militarism, Triple Alliance, Central Powers, Kaiser Wilhelm II, Triple Entente, which then becomes the Allies, and then Total War. Next up, you're going to do U14-L3, Basics of World War I, Part 2 Ed Puzzle. If you have any questions or comments or simply want to learn more, do let us know. We are here to help. But before I let you go, let's take a look at those summative directions, all right? So if you've been kind of phasing away, maybe like texting on your phone or whatever you guys do during these Ed Puzzles, come back to the screen real quick because I'm going to talk through the summative, okay? All right, so when it comes to me making these summatives, I try to think of things as creative as I possibly can. I know we've done a lot of Canva stuff lately, slideshows, written stuff, so I'm like, okay, for this summative, let's do something totally kind of out there, totally different. So I decided, why don't we do where you pretend you're the teacher and you need to make a quiz for your world history. So here are the directions. Typically, teachers make quizzes and tests for students, but in the summative, you are going to be the teacher. Pretend you are a world history teacher who needs to make a quiz for your students about Russia and World War I. So using Google Forms, you're going to make a quiz about Russia and World War I. All right, so I'm going to talk through pretty much what I explained in this video here, but if you forget what I said today, go back and watch this video, or you can read it on the steps I have here. But I'm going to pretty much walk you through how to make a Google form. I don't know if all of you have made a Google form before. I'm sure some of you have. This Google form needs to be a little bit different because it needs to be in a quiz template. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So the first step is to get to your Google Drive. Then in the left upper side, you're going to click on the plus that says New. And then you are going to hover down until Google Forms. Now, don't click on Google Forms quite yet. What I want you to do is go over to the right a little bit and hover over this kind of like dark gray triangle. That will pop up another menu. And then I want you to click on Blank Quiz. Okay. Let it load for a second. Now, I don't know if this pops up for students. It pops up for me in Teacher View. If this does pop up for you, just simply exit out of it. All right, now we have a blank Google form to fill out. So remember, you have to pretend that you're a teacher making a quiz for your students about the Russian Revolution and World War I. So the first thing you need to do is make a title of your quiz, whatever that may be. Of course, make it something that's actually coherent. I am just typing in random stuff, so you don't copy and paste what I do. Also, make sure your name is on it. Okay? All right. Then, in order to make questions, what you need to do is just click on the first untitled question. And then you can go over to the right a little bit and click on this menu box, and it will show you a bunch of different like formats for questions. So you can do short answer, you can do paragraph, you can do multiple choice, you can do checkboxes, you can do drop down. I say stay away from file upload, linear scale, and rating. They get a little bit confusing, so I'd say stay away from those three, okay? But you could do multiple choice grid or checkbox grid, and then stay away from date and time because that's for like meeting stuff, so that's not going to be applicable for this summative. Okay, so once you choose whatever kind of questions you want, and you can mix it up between questions as well, it doesn't all have to be the same format, you're going to click on the untitled question, and then I'm going to type in my question. Of course, your question is going to be about Russia or World War I. But again, I'm just doing this so you don't copy and paste whatever I do. So for the answer choices then, you just click on option 1. And then to add more like question option or answer options, you just click on add option. Like that. Okay. If you also want to add images, you can do that here by saying add image. And if you make a mistake, you're like, oh shoot, I don't want that answer choice. You can just click the X on the side to remove it. And then the important part, of course, is having an answer key, because every good teacher needs an answer key. So to do the answer key, you just simply click on answer key down here. You click on the correct answer, and then you give it a point value. So for simplicity's sake, I'll just give this 1 point, and then click done. All right. Then to make the next question, all you have to do is click here where it says add question, and it will pop up another question. All right, you can also customize how it looks as well by using the custom theme thing. So you can change the text. If you want a header image, you can do that. You can make it a different color. I mean, the prettiness is optional, but you know, if you like it, that's cool. Then in order to share it with your teacher once you're done, you're going to go up here to the share button and then make sure that you share it with your teacher. And make sure your teacher has editing view of it too, okay? All right, once you're done with it as well, you're going to click on publish. It doesn't matter. You can just say publish like that. And then you're going to want to copy the responder link. And in the responder link, you're going to want it to drop it into the Unit 14 Summative Reverse Quiz Dropbox where you're going to put in that link. So that way I have all the links kind of like in one big folder when you like drop it in. So it's easier for me just to go through and like click on all the links instead of having to like dig through emails of who has shared their Google form with me or not. So that's why I want the link as well. You'll see that when you get to week 2, by the way. All right, now let's take a look at the summative. So your quiz needs to be made in Google Forms, which I just showed you. You need a total of 15 questions on your quiz. Again, it can be your choice of short answers, long answers like paragraphs, multiple choice, checkboxes, drop down, multiple choice grids, or checkbox grids. It can be a combo. Yeah, that's totally up to you. And then 10 of your 15 questions need to be about World War I. So that would be lessons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Of those 10, you need to include at least one question about the causes of World War I, which we learned about in lesson 1. One question about Boylston's experience, which you will learn about her in lesson 5, and 2 questions about technology in World War I, which we will learn about in lesson 7. Then 5 of the 15 questions need to be about the Russian Revolution, which is lessons 8 and 9. Of those 5 questions, you need to include at least one question about the primary source reading from lesson 9, which you'll do in week 2. All the information for the questions and answers need to come only from the content from this class. No outside resources. Any information that is not from the class content will be suspected of plagiarism or AI, so you receive significant points reduced, if not a permanent 0. So again, make sure all of your information is coming from class content. All right, so that is your summative. If you have any questions about your summative at all, please let your teacher know right away. We are here to help you. All right, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. Bye.